Hello, my friends. My name is Adam, and I'm on a mission to be the most prolific reviewer of all time. And to do that, I review books, movies, podcasts, computer games, mostly movies. And the movie that I am going to review today is called L'Incendie. That's the French title. The English title is Fires from 2010. And before I even start the review, I have to say that this is the best movie I have reviewed for this project. And so the project has been going on for about maybe 6 months now. And in that time, I've reviewed about 300 movies. I don't know exactly what it is. So 300 movies. This is the best movie. And I'm going to describe why it's the best movie, but I think that I have only seen this movie once. I watched it last night, so I'm not sure it's a movie that can survive if you know the spoilers. So I think that this is a movie that you should watch with the freshest eyes of possible. So normally YouTubers don't do this, but if you really want to see this film, don't watch the rest of this review. Come back, watch the film, and then come back and share, find out my thoughts about it, and then we can share thoughts at the end of the video. But yeah, 100% spoiler warnings ahead. If you want to see the film, and you should want to see the film, don't watch the rest of this review. Okay? Don't watch it. You've been warned. Don't watch it. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the actual film. And I want to read the entirety of the beginning of the Wikipedia article about this film because I think it just will open up a lot of room for discussion. So the first paragraph is Incendie, French Fires, is a 2010 Canadian war tragedy film directed by Denis Villeneuve, who co-wrote the screenplay with Valérie Beaugrand-Champagne, adapted from Wajdi Mouawad's play of the same name. Incendie stars Lubna, AzabalMélissa, Désormeaux-PoulinMaxim, and Rémy Girard. So there's factual parts to that paragraph. So 95% of that is factual, and 5% of it is a big statement. Like saying that it's a Canadian war tragedy film is not true at all. It's a Canadian film, yes, but it deals with the burden that being a parent and being a child places on individuals. It's not a war tragedy film. War is used as a conduit to tell the story. And when you're first watching the film, you think it's about Lebanon, and I was like, oh, this is like Capernaum, another movie that I reviewed where there's a little boy and he has to survive in the situation that is Lebanon, in the same period. But then it doesn't actually look like the Lebanon that is portrayed in Capernaum, and Capernaum was filmed in Lebanon. It looks vaguely Middle East, and the country vaguely is like Lebanon in that there are Arabs, and the Arabs are split among a Muslim population and a Christian population, and there are Palestinian refugees. So it does seem to be Lebanon, but the word Lebanon is never mentioned in the film. And even when you see shots of flags in front of government buildings, the flag is never quite right. It's never shown clearly. And the Lebanese flag is quite unique. It's got some three bands, it's tricolor, and in the middle is a big cedar tree. So it's pretty recognizably a Lebanese flag. And it's not. And the the film does a great job of kind of misdirecting. And the misdirection is that this is a movie that is a war tragedy film, right? Because a lot of the story takes place in a war, and there are war crimes and things that happen during a war, but the film is not actually about the war. The film is about the relations between these characters, and it's about the memory and the experiences we have of our parents, but filtered through our own like investigations and interpretations. So, what do I mean by that? The film starts where in Quebec, and there is a man who is reading the will of a woman, and we find out that this woman was the secretary of the the woman who is deceased, and the man reading the will is a notary, and he actually plays kind of a framing. He's a framing character, so he's in the beginning and he's at the towards the end, and he provides kind of like context to what's happening. So there is the reading of the will, and there's these two twins, Jean. Okay, so there's these two twins, Jean and Simon. Those are the French names. The Arabic names are Janan and I'll try and find it without clicking off of the thing. Sarawan, and their last name is Marwan, and their mom's name is Nawal Marwan. And so the will is being read, and it's a really strange will, and it consists of a letter. So one letter is given to the daughter, and basically it's like, here is a letter for your brother. And she's like, well, my brother's here. And the guy with the notary public guy, I think his name is Jean, is like, no, 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 you have another brother. And then another letter is given to the other twin, and it's like, this is for your father. So you have to find the father, and the daughter has to find the brother. So, so that's the beginning, and then we see what happens from Nawal's perspective. So Nawal, and I don't remember if this happens in the literal beginning of the movie. I think it does, where Nawal has been having some kind of romantic fling with a refugee, and the guy gets killed by her brothers in sort of like an honor killing, and they're about to kill her, but her grandmother steps in and says, I'm going to save you. You're going to go to school, but I'm going to take the baby, and the baby's going to be sent to an orphanage. So the baby is sent to this orphanage, and like all of these threads kind of like interweave. So it's really hard to tell you how the story is connected. But before the baby is put up for adoption, the midwife tattoos 3 dots on the back of his foot. So I guess so the mother will be able to recognize her son in the future. So then like the story goes back and forth, but then Jean goes to this fictional country, this Lebanon-esque country, and starts to uncover her mother's past. And she's like, well, I need to find the father to find the brother. So she goes back to her mother's village and says, I'm looking for my father. And like they aggressively react to her because it's like this Christian community. And you think when you're watching the movie that they're aggressively reacting to the fact that her mother had this child out of wedlock and that she's a disgrace, but it's not that at all. There's like another layer which is also shown in this movie. One is that the other layer is Nawal leaves her home, and she doesn't forget about the baby. She starts to study, and then there's like some conflict between Christian nationalist militias and the refugee camp that is housing, we don't know, but probably it's the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, because that's what was happening in Lebanon at the time. And they're like fighting between each other. So one group will do a massacre and the other group will do a kind of tit for tat massacres, which happened, I guess, like 20-year period. But this was beginning, and so they closed the university in the city where, because Nawal had been sent to the university to study and stay with her uncle, who is this idealistic guy who owns the newspaper, but we don't really care about that because it doesn't really have a big effect. But the university gets shut down, and Nawal wants to go and find her son. So she goes to the south where this conflict is happening, and she gets this like brutal introduction to the nature of war, right? And that's why I can see that people would think that this is a war tragedy, but this is just misdirection, as I said. The story is not about what I'm about to tell you. So she goes to the south, and there's these checkpoints, and she's riding a bus, and she's pretending to be Muslim, going to this one place on this Muslim bus full of Muslims. So the bus gets attacked by a Christian militia, and like just attacked, like just stopped and then machine gun fire into the bus basically. And then they're going to burn the bus, and she gets off the bus, and she grabs a child from another woman who survives, and she's like, this is my child, this is my child, my child. And unfortunately the child, and then you think, oh well, that's how she got the one twin, maybe she got another twin like that. But no, the child, unfortunately, because she was a child, doesn't really understand what's going on, and she runs back to be with her mother, and she gets shot because she's Muslim, right? And then they burn the bus, and they just leave her sitting there, like, and the bus is on fire, and she's like, I don't know what to do. So she tries to go to the orphanage where her son, I think they gave him the name Najid. Her son Najid was put up for adoption in this orphanage, but the orphanage has been destroyed by Muslim militia. And like a Christian guy from the village is saying, like, they left when these reprisals started happening, and if you could find some Muslims, they could probably tell you where your son is. And so she kind of seeks out the Muslim militia, and the Muslim militias don't actually tell her where her son is, and she doesn't have any records also. So she doesn't know, because he is the only boy that was put in that orphanage in the month of May. But she doesn't know that, right? She could say, well, there was 10 boys in that orphanage in that month, or I don't know. And so at the same time, she's approaching this Muslim militia to look for her son. Her son is being trained as this sniper to kill people. That'll be important later. So the Muslim militia kind of recruits her and uses her quest for vengeance because, Christians in her mind have killed her son, have killed her love, and that's it. So they recruit her as sort of a sleeper agent, and she is going to sort of ingratiate herself into the lives of and this is not really detailed in the movie. It's like a 5-minute scene, less than 5-minute scene. So she tries to ingratiate herself in the lives of the leader of a Christian militia, and she becomes the child's tutor in French, And one day, when it's right, she just walks up to the leader of the Christian militia and pops him in the head 3 times with a gun. And then obviously she's arrested and she's sent to this prison. So, meanwhile, in the narrative of the movie, Jean and Simone. So Jean goes through and she has discovered that she has a brother that she believes was born in this prison because her mother had been like repeatedly raped. So she thinks that she has found the brother. So she has done her part in the will. And so now her brother, who doesn't want to be, and this is also another great part about the movie, the son is very unsupportive of his mother. Like, he thinks that she's crazy. She's always been crazy. And it's good that she's dead because now he can finally have peace. But he wants to support his twin sister. So he goes to this Lebanon-esque country as well, and he is going to find the father. So they have this name of the guy who was abusing and torturing his mother in the prison named Abdul Tariq. And the mother has become sort of this legendary figure, the woman who sings. Legendary for 2 reasons, like she stood up to torture in the prison, and also she shot this Christian militia leader. So the son goes and he does what he's told by the first notary and the notary's friend in Lebanon, and he gets to speaking eventually with the leader of the Christian militia, and he has like this big, not Christian, Muslim militia who recruited his mom. So, and they have this like big group of people, like maybe 30 people, and then Simon gets asked what he wants, and he explains that he's the son of the woman who sings, and he's trying to find his father, and Najid of, so he figures, he's trying to find his brother. Najid of May is the name that he has for him. And so the Christian, I keep saying Christian militia, but it's Muslim militia leader. I'll just say militia leader from now on. So the militia leader, he sends everybody out of the room because he's going to give some sensitive information to Simon. So basically Najid, as I mentioned before, he was taken, basically kidnapped from this orphanage by the militia, and he was trained to be a sniper, and he was really good at it, and he was killing people all over the place. And I think that the militia leader slowly realized, I don't know if he ever made the connection between Najid and Nawal, but anyway, Najid has always wanted to find his mother, and he comes up with this plan of, becoming a suicide bomber, because suicide bombers would have their posters on walls everywhere, and then his mother would see him and say, okay, I'm so proud of him that he became this like martyr for the cause. And I think it's not quite said in the movie, but I think it's because the militia leader he kind of realizes there's a connection between Najid and Nawal. And at this point, Nawal is in prison for this assassination attempt. So, Najid, he becomes this sniper, and he is sent into battle because there's this invasion of the south by another country, and it's never mentioned what other country invades the south, but because this is Lebanon-esque country, it's Israel. Israel invades the south and destabilizes Lebanon even more. But they capture, or the Christian militias working with Israel, capture Najid, and he just likes killing people and he likes torturing people. So he switches sides, and he changes his name to Abu Tariq. And if you've been paying attention, this is one of the biggest twists I have ever seen in a movie, and it's so well done. So Abu Tariq is the brother of, so Najid is the brother of Simon and Jean, like the twins. And the movie and the twins believe that their father is the guy who was killed in the beginning of the movie called Wajid. And Wajid is not their father. He's Abu's father and Najid's father. Najid and Abu are the same person. So, yeah, basically, Abu Tariq has been assigned as a torturer in this prison, and he tortures and he rapes multiple prisoners, but he tortures and he rapes his own mother, and his mother gets pregnant with twins, Jean and Simon, and he goes on and lives his life. And so there's this like gut-wrenching scene of where, and we don't know quite yet that Abu is the father of the twins. It's not exactly shown. And Nawad is trying to give herself like an abortion in the prison, and it doesn't work. And she ends up having to give birth. And there is a nurse who like respects her, and she, with a guard, they manage to, because all of the babies that are born in this prison are just thrown in the river. So they manage to save these two babies and put them into hiding. And then the militia leader somehow gets her out of prison and sends her to Canada with her two children. And like there's another moving scene that is like so powerful where Nawal is like, you can't ask me to take those kids, because the kids are like the fruit of this horrible rape and torture she has endured in Canada. And the militia leader says something really weird, which is like, you're our family now, they're our family now, and you'll be protected. So they get sent to Canada. And then the twins, meanwhile, they're doing their investigation. And so the brother realizes that his father is his brother. And they have a scene with the sister and the daughter. Sister-daughter, which is a crazy sentence, but have a sentence with his sister. And that he says, can one and one ever be one? And he's like really traumatized by this. And she doesn't know quite what he means. And then suddenly there's this wave of realization that he is saying that he found the father and the brother are the same person. So then you see it from the mother's perspective in Canada. Now, there's been flashbacks throughout the movie where the mother has, she has some kind of like brain trauma, and she gets into the hospital, and it's all happening at this local pool in Canada. And at the very end, we see why. She is like sitting at the pool, and she sees this guy walking by, and he has this tattoo that I mentioned earlier of the 3 dots on the back of his foot. And so she stands up, and she's going to kind of with full of trepidation, like, this is my son, I finally found him, oh, this is like a miracle, whatever. And she walks by him, and then she recognizes his face. And his face is the face of the man who was raping her in prison. And then he's like, oh, do I know you? And she's like, no. And then she leaves. And so the end of the movie is this scene where the twins, and it's crazy how they have to go to this Lebanon-esque country to figure out what happened to their mother. And what happened to their mother happened in the country where they grew. I mean, it didn't happen, but like the conclusion. So they had to travel all over the country, all over the world, to figure out something that was in their own city, right? So that was really well done as well. So anyway, the end of the movie is, so I mentioned that there are these letters, the letter to the brother and the letter to the father. So the daughter delivers one letter, which is the letter to the father. Well, I think the twins with the responsibilities do that. So Simon gives the letter to the father to the guy Najid, and I forgot what his alias was because he fled after, because he's committing war crimes, of course. So he flees to Canada after the war and changes his name and works as a bus cleaner. So so there's a letter to the father, and it's like, I found you, and it's just like a brutally graphic and honest letter, like, oh, I hate you, what you did to me, this is horrible. And then there's the letter to the son, and it's like forgiveness. It's like, I it's really moving. She says something like, I promised that I would always love you, and I do, and I forgive you, and I don't know what happened to you to make you into that kind of person, basically, is what she's suggesting. So, the twist comes, like, I don't know. I don't think that I am the most intelligent movie watcher, and I don't think that I can understand twists like 100% of the time, but usually if a movie has a sort of stereotypical twist, it's really quite noticeable for me. But this one, it kind of came out of nowhere for me. I was completely shocked that the father and the brother were the same person. And I think that's why I don't think that this is a tragedy. It's a tragedy, definitely, but I don't think it's a war tragedy. And I think that the war is just a background. And as I said, it's a misdirection. So the misdirection is to make you think that Nawal's journey is about revenge and redemption and a sort of like arc that is completely normal and has been in thousands of other movies. No, the real theme of the movie is what do we owe each other, right? Like, obviously we owe our parents the respect that we're not going to rape and torture them. That's true, but then we also, as parents, we owe our children something as well. And what tragedies can happen when we can't give our children the things that we owe them, And the other bigger question is, like, if we were just kinder to each other and we didn't do these wars and tortures and stuff, then, because we tend to think that the person we hurt is some kind of other, like Muslim, Christian, whatever, like, but these others can sometimes be ourselves, right? It just takes a combination of circumstances that no one can foresee. And I think that's a big message of it. But also, and I think the twins, they don't have, like, it seems to be Nawal's journey, right? It seems to be her story. But I think actually the movie is more about the twins and how they feel, how they have interacted with the mother all of her life. And so the suggestion of Simon that she's crazy and, he is glad because he doesn't understand what his mother went through. And his mother also doesn't understand what she went through entirely. So it's a kind of so the movie kind of posits that Simon deserves to try to understand his mother's perspective, right? So it's about what Simon needs to do for his mother. But then you're like, there's another part. So all of that kind of thematically makes sense. But the other thing is kind of the nihilism of the movie in the end, because understanding your parents and understanding what you need to give to your parents and what your parents need to give to you, that doesn't change anything. Like, there's no way that Nawal could have saved Najid. She tried. She really tried. But by the time she had gotten there, she'd been manipulated by kind of manipulated, kind of volunteered by this militia boss to do her crime. So she couldn't have saved Najid, right? Or maybe she could have. Who knows? But anyway, Najid does what he does and he becomes the person that he is. And at one point, Najid stops becoming Nawal's responsibility. And Najid comes back as a sort of like horrific ghost of Christmas past to inflict suffering on Nawal. And then Nawal, she lives with this suffering, like a normal amount of suffering. She kind of she goes with her, she kind of tries to bury her past and start a new life. And the new life in Canada is, apart from the notary saying that she was really well respected by him and his children, there's nothing else, right? There's nothing else about her life, just the hints that Simon and Jean drop about her life in Canada, right? So she lives this life which, even if it had been like redemptory, it's not mentioned at all. And then we have this tragedy that comes back from the beginning of her life, at the end of her life, when she sees that her son is the father of her other two children. And so, but then, and this is weird, it seems kind of malicious, right? Because on the one hand, you can say, well, we want to understand our mother, we want to understand what she went through, but she knows already the kind of twist of the movie. She doesn't need to send her children on this big journey of exploration and discovery. And why should they know that, right? Like, why should they know that their brother is their father? Like, what on what earth does that help them? You know. So then we could say, no, Wal's real failure is not that she loses Najid. It's not that Najid comes back as some kind of psychopathic torturer. It's that she sets up this whole thing to torture the unwanted offspring of that encounter. And they're innocent, right? And, you know, the letters are like, oh, let's forget the past. Let's cut off the ties of the past. And there's like a sentence she uses in the letters, which is quite chilling. So the rapist, you know, Najid, is reading these letters. And the first letter to the rapist basically says, after all, it's important to be together. You know, these are your children. After all, it's important to be together. And the other letter is like family is the most important. Family, it's important to be together. And the other letter to the son is like, at last I found you. Family is the most important. It's important to be together. And then the twins, they open their letter and it's like, family is the most important. It's important to be together. So it's just like the twists of this movie are great. And it's not a simple movie where you can say, well, it's about this, or it's about this, or it's about this, or it's about this. It's like a complicated morass of a movie. And I think Nawal is one of these characters where people, I don't think that this movie, unfortunately, is that popular, but I think it should be. I think it's up there with like Citizen Kane and stuff in terms of how the movie is made and the implications of the movie. Like we've been talking about for 70 years about Rosebud. What does Rosebud mean? I think hopefully in the future people will be coming back to this movie and discussing Nawal's motivations. Like, what was she thinking? Why did she set up this whole thing? Was it a good thing that she did? Or was it just to inflict torture upon other people? I don't know. I don't know. All right. So hopefully you have already watched this movie with me and you didn't watch the you know, the review before watching the movie, because I mean, I just started talking and I don't think my explanation was that coherent, but I think I gave you enough information that would, excuse me, spoil the movie. So you should definitely watch the movie on your own and see what you think about it. And yeah, I think that this is the best twist of any movie. And I think it's the most powerful twist of a movie that I've watched. And as I said, it's the best movie I've seen this year. So, I mean, and I know, like, it's only January. So when I say this year, I mean, like, calendar, not calendar year, like, actual, literally 12 months. It's the best movie I've seen. So, the top is Denis Villeneuve's movie, L'Incendie. He's also the director of Dune 1 and Dune 2, which I didn't like, but those are more big budget things. This is more like personal storytelling. All right, I'm trying to get to 300 subscribers by the end of January. I have 283, I believe. So if you like what I do, please subscribe. Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, and if you're listening on Spotify, please give me a follow. Bye-bye.